Hi, my name's Steve Gilchrist, co-host of Trillium Cable's weekly political affairs show, Roundtable. With me today is Mr. Paul Calandra. Paul is running for the Scarborough Council position in Ward 9. Good afternoon, Paul. Glad you join me. Paul, I guess, is a long-time resident of Scarborough, 17 years, I believe, and 10 years in Highland Creek. What are the issues that have motivated you to get involved in this very serious race for a Scarborough Council position?
Well, there's a lot of issues that face the people, and as we've been out there knocking on doors and listening to people, you hear the constant concerns. People are concerned about their safety, their children's safety, concerned about the direction of the city, high property taxes, and even the values of their homes. And it's about time we started looking at the problems and faced them down and got some solutions.
Well, Paul, you've been kind enough to bring along a copy of your brochure, and I see there are 3 points in particular you emphasize. Let's deal with them one at a time. The first one is crime issues. Perhaps you could elaborate a bit on where you stand on that problem.
Well, we think it's time to get aggressive in fighting crime, and there's a lot we can do here in the city level ourselves. And I think one of the first things we should do as a new council is update the noise bylaw. The current bylaw from 1975, it's old and useless, and it needs to be updated. And a new bylaw should allow the police to deal with these out-of-control house parties, these after-hour clubs that have been springing up in Scarborough, and that's what the bylaw should allow police to attack. It's that kind of problem that the new noise bylaw should face down. But there's other concerns as well. We've said that I'll become very aggressive in supporting the Metro Councillor and trying to increase policing in the area, in getting a 3rd police station built for East Scarborough, which is of the primary importance. The communities Highland Creek, even Guildwood, Centennial, in the West Hill area, they need a new police station, and the policing that goes with that. And we'll fight aggressively to make sure that we get that in Scarborough.
You've got one interesting point I don't think I've ever seen proposed before, and that's police involvement in all new developments plans.
Yeah. Well, what we propose to do there is physically bring the police the plans and let them see them before a development takes place. Architects, sometimes they just forget things, or they don't know things that the police know. For instance, a hidden corner or a parking lot in the back of a building that's cut off. And police quite often can look at the plans and make recommendations, and we can avoid problems before they occur. And it won't cost us a cent to do, and I think it's a good way to start getting to the basics and the root problem of crime in the area.
Excellent point. Well, that leads us into your second point, renewal and development, and talking about police involvement, but you have a number of other points. You believe this is an important enough issue to put in your brochure. What are some of the points you deal with there?
Well, it's a very important issue, especially in this community right now. We have to assure that any new development in the area is going to conform with the existing area. If I can single out one issue in particular, is the John Mansville, or the now Manson Insulation Project. That's a proposal for a number of high-density homes in the area, but the infrastructure for the area was built on single-family residential. It can't support this kind of a project. And what we're saying is, before a project goes ahead, let's make sure it conforms with the existing area, for one. Let's make sure that the infrastructure is in place, sewers, roads, schools, policing, and recreational facilities before a project. It's the wrong thing to do to put a project in and then say it'll be upgraded after, because it just won't happen. In this area, it will be hard hit by that, but we have to make sure that these kind of things are in place before, throughout the city. And it's not just Ward 9, it's throughout the city. We have to be more intelligent, and as I said earlier, let's involve the police in the planning of these things before it takes place. That's the kind of approach that we want to bring to it.
Excellent. You also talk about speeding the application process and upgrading older properties through tax credits.
Yes, yeah. Well, we think a good way of attracting business into the city of Scarborough and proper development is to speed up the process. City approval or rejection, it shouldn't take more than 6 months. At the utmost, it shouldn't take longer than that. And if we can speed that up, but do it properly, then we could encourage proper development. As far as upgrading older properties, you know, it goes into the image of the city. People drive around and they see properties crumbling. Let's give these people, you know, the plazas, for instance. There's a lot of plazas that are old and crumbling and buildings that need updating. Let's give them incentives to upgrade those properties. It'll do a heck of a lot for our image. And another point we did bring up was giving inspectors concise guidelines and time frames and the resources they need to deal with homeowners, developers, and businesses who violate our bylaws and help create a poor image of the city.
So on the one hand, be more proactive in encouraging development, but for those that take the wrong steps, be prepared to take tough action against them.
Exactly.
I guess there's a big question when it comes to property taxes and issues like that certainly is on almost everybody's lips every week on our TV show, and that's market value assessment. And where do you stand on that?
Well, I am plainly in favor of market value assessment, and we should encourage it and get down there and fight for it as hard as we can.
Do you think that as a Scarborough councillor that you'll be able to have an impact in that debate?
I hope so, but it's more the market value assessment, if I can. We have to look into everything, a line-by-line approach to budgeting, and you know, I applaud the city in keeping the budget down low, but nobody can afford the current tax burden, so let's make sure we look at it. And I said 6 months after elected, I'll outline proposals to fight the budget and make sure it stays down.
Well, that's a good segue into your third point, which is taxation. You mentioned reviewing all city expenditures and consolidation where possible. What are some examples or some ideas in terms of consolidation?
Well, what we should look at is the city, the Board of Education and Public Utilities, see where there's duplication between us all, and start sharing resources. And the simple, what we can take care of within our city itself. Let's look at those things and take care of it. For instance, cutting the grass. We all have our own crews that go out and cut grass. Let's see if it can't be done cheaper, if we share that burden. And it goes on and on and on. And let's find out where there's duplication within our city. Let's eliminate it. And that's the way we're going to go about making sure there's no increases in property taxes. And that's the way we're going to go about making sure that we can bring property taxes down.
You have another item in your pamphlet, grants only where the city benefits. By this, do you mean business grants, arts grants, cultural grants, that sort of thing?
Business grants, arts grants, so on. But what we think we should do also is set priorities every year on how the grants are distributed. First of all, let's set guidelines on who gets grants and why, but let's set priorities. Maybe this year a priority might be crime. Let's give grants to those organizations that are out there helping to attack the root causes of crime. And every year, let's set priorities on it, and that's who should get the grants. But let's make sure the city benefits. If the city doesn't benefit, then there should be no grant given out.
There's no doubt that many people maintain that the city has certain jobs it should do, and it shouldn't be in the business of things that the provincial and federal governments do. So it sounds like you're clearly in favor of the city sticking to its knitting. Then is that a fair?
Well, exactly. It's more of it's been used a lot, a back to basics approach. But let's make sure that we do what we're supposed to do, and let's do it right, and let's not stick our noses where we don't belong.
Are you confident that in our current economy that you'd be able to propose and, if not guarantee, a zero tax increase or better?
Well, we have no choice. We have absolutely no choice but to bring budgets forward with a zero tax increase. And whatever we have to do, we'll make sure it gets done because nobody can afford to pay more.
Well, Paul, we're down to our last few seconds here. If you care to sort of sum up your campaign in a couple of sentences for the voters in Ward 9.
Well, Steve, we promise to be responsive to the needs of the people and the communities. We'll never get caught up in things that we're not supposed to get caught up in. And we'll always listen to the people in the community associations, and we'll be a strong voice, and we won't flip-flop on the major decisions.
Well, best of luck. Look forward to seeing the turn of events on election night, and I hope everyone takes the time to go out and exercise their franchise. This is your most important role municipally every 3 years, and I applaud Paul and the others in the race, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.